So today we're going to be harvesting these cells I put in the builder last week. We've had a bit of duff weather, but now we're ready to take them out and put them in the incubator. So I'm going to make it as easy as I can for you to see. I'll harvest this one here, this finisher here, which has got 14 cells in. And then I will take them up to the incubator and put them in and show you how I do that. It's not rocket science. It's just a bit of care I take. I'll put them in a lid so that the cells are away from the wind. As I say, these are day 8 to 9 now, and they are fully formed, these larvae. You can leave them a little bit longer, but I want to get this finisher empty because I've got some more cells going in this afternoon. So I've got 3 finishers here, 1, 2, and 3. The double nuke box I use as finishers as well. They're going to harvest as well. So I'll try and show you the whole thing and how I take them up after. So here we go. I've got some bees here that are a bit grumpy because I've just been into another colony next door, which was the end of the builder. So anyway, the feeder's empty. Let's take that off. Move this out of the way so you can see it. Oh, I hope so. Bit of smoke. I'm not using gloves, and this, I know this colony is actually really nice and gentle, so I don't really need to, but so these cells I just put in as extras. They've been a bit slow to finish, I don't know why, so I'll have a look at those after. But I'm pretty sure these are going to be finished fine. I want to get these out because the weather is very unpredictable the next few days, so I want to be sure they're in the incubator and safe. So there we go. Look at that. See, I didn't have these metal tabs on these, and I had almost had a problem to dig them out because they're so properlised up, but I've got my little brush here. I'm just going to brush these bees off gently. They're not bad cells actually, they're a little bit better than I thought they would be. This colony's a fairly good raiser for bees, for queens I should say. And I'd like to make that point as well, that each colony seems to be different. Some colonies finish the cells longer than others, and some colonies finish them with more raw jelly than others. Now if you look in here, we've got raw jelly in the cells. You can see how white they are. I don't know if you can see that there, but that's what I want to see. There's a couple there that they've eaten most of it, but I would say they had pretty good nutrition in most of that time. I wouldn't want these cells to be any smaller than that, but I'm happy that they are that size. I wouldn't want them to say any smaller because I feel that any smaller and it might impinge the size of the queen. But these are day 8 to 9, so I'm fairly happy that they're stable inside. I'm not too worried about them being jolted around because they're nearly ready to hatch. And in fact, I can probably see larvae inside there, nearly ready. So they're going to be pretty ready to hatch. So I'm not going to hang around. I want to keep them in the warm. So I'm going to put that one. You probably can't see that, but I use a lid and I'll just place that one in there. And I keep them on their sides for now. This finisher can now be jiggled around if it needs to be. Thank you, bee. A little bit of smoke. My smoker does work, believe it or not. It's just every time I seem to film it, it's run out of puff. There we go, there's another cell there. That one wasn't made up, I don't know why. Just discard those. Put this back as it was while I've got the chance. So they won't build any comb anywhere else. And here we go, that's back together now. Feeder back on. Voila. Okay. Now I'm going to go for the next one. Let's move this camera along. So not sure if you can see that. That's why it's always very awkward filming when you're trying to do an operation on the hive next door. But so both my feeders here are empty, which is great, which is what I wanted to see. So they've taken all that down. I'm just going to grab my smoker and my brush. Life in the old thing yet. Right. These are really well populated, these two, so I'm going to be pretty swift, but they're not that aggressive, these bees. They're nice. Put that over there for the moment. See what these are like. I hope these have done well. Got a lot of colonies to use these cells for. Not bad, they're okay. Okay, the same thing. You get the occasional one, they didn't draw up that well. Brush these off. See, these are a little bit smaller, these cells, but they'll still be perfectly good inside. But there is no flow running. There's very little pollen about. I'm not giving any extra thing to these colonies except the feed they already have stored inside, and I give them some pollen. I'm thinking of giving them a pollen sub at this time of year because I really want to enhance what I can with these cells. So let's put those down there on their side, close this one up, do the next one. You get some drones stuck up in the top here, unfortunately. I have to let them out. There's not many, but when I brought the brood frame up from before, sometimes a few drones are in the comb you bring up, so you have to let them out, like that one. Come on. Okay. Feed is empty. See how this one did. They glued this one down well. Woohoo! Whoa. Strong bees. Good. Nice cells. See how you've got to get them vertical. Otherwise, what happens is they build it into the colony into the wall next door, which they've done on this one. So, just if I can remove this one, it's a bit of smoke to clear these bees off. And I've got to dig around the cell to get it out. There we go. It's come out quite easy. It's a nice size cells, those. These are good. These are good cells. See, this is, I know, is a good finisher. But strangely enough, we've got one here that's been torn down. I don't know if you can see that one there. It's almost as though the bees knew it was duff or something wasn't quite right with it, because lovely size cells, and they're full of raw jelly again. It's what I want to see. Really nice. So they must have known that something wasn't quite right there, because they've torn the cell down, but there wasn't a queen in the top here, because she would have destroyed the whole lot within the 5 days they've been there. So that one is now finished with, but that's fine. And yes, I didn't have the metal bar on the top because I ran out of time last week, and I haven't put any more metal bars on the subsequent frames I've been using, but I've got to fix them on. And I know my friend Colin will be cursing, going, why didn't he put those on? But I will do. Another job to do. So that's now finished with. Okay, so let's get these in the warm. Back in the tray. There you go, nice little site that. Cells ready to go, all stable and warm. Still warm, it's actually nice and warm anyway. On the way up I'm going to put this over, and that'll just keep them a bit warmer and keep any draft off them while I go up to the top of the house. And then I'll be back after to finish up here, but these are closed off for now, so you don't waste any time messing around here, just get up to the house. Back up at the house now. I'm going to try and show you how I take these off the frame. It's not easy, it's the most fiddliest part, and this is why I like to leave my larvae in the cells for as long as possible, because this process, I think, is the process that causes the most grief. And if you're not absolutely gentle and careful, you can lose larvae, and if you bring them up too soon to the incubator, you can detach the larvae from its puddle of raw jelly, so it doesn't get fed at the critical time. That's just what I've heard, that's what I've found, and I find that my losses in the incubator after I bring them up, say for instance from day 8 to 9 onwards, are hardly anything compared to what they are after day 5 and 6. The other issue is the cold. You cannot get your cells chilled, so you only bring them up when it's warm. And often for me, an evening is perfect because we get light winds. And light winds mean you can, for instance, cover them over like this, bring them up, and then you've got time to get them all out. So what I do is I leave them where they are. I don't know if you can, you probably can't really see me doing this well, but I've got to go in and lever up each one. So you've got to get the hive tool in, gently ease them off, but as usual, They propolize them all up. So you do the first 10 really, really gently. I need to really find a way of clamping them all at the same time. Some kind of mechanism that someone could invent, if someone out there want to have a go, that you could put this whole bar into a tooth machine that would hold all the cells, and then you could just peel them off quickly, and then you release the machine after, and it lets you take the cells out individually. That would be just the business, because then you do less damage to the cells. But I'm undoing all of these, and they're now free from the bar, so I lift the bar out, get it out of the way. So you can see the cells do get a little bit of movement, but there's really no other way of getting them off the bar at this stage. So the bar is free, I take that out, and that's going to be cleaned. Now the cells are free, and what I do is I have a tray, a foam tray that I've made that with my Nico cups they sit in. If you look, it's been routed and machined so it fits these perfectly. Thanks Colin Edwards, you did a great job of this. And all my cells go in like that. It's pretty quick. I try not just to whack them in, but it's not easy to not do that, really. You've got to move swiftly, you've got to get a balance between moving swiftly and preserving the cells. So, and then these go in the incubator as they are, so that's a time saver for me. I don't have to push them on any frames in the incubator or any of the brown couplings. I find these trays work great. And you can also take these out to the field when you're going to fill them with some nurse bees or things like that. And what I can do now is I can take these straight into the I can put these straight into the incubator while I get the next lot ready. So they'll go in now. My temperature's set at 34.5 on this one. I have a little tray of water underneath that I'll show you afterwards, but I'll get the others out when these are ready. So obviously all these are cooling down all the time, but there's no wind and it's warm inside this house. So there's no real damage because these are day 8 to 9. Sometimes I leave them longer. It just takes a little bit of time and patience, but if you really are careful, and having your frame on a piece of wood or in a box or something that's stable makes a massive difference, because you're not trying to jiggle it around, and these are so fragile. You have to be so careful with these queen cells, I tell you. But it's fantastic because all the work you've done, all the spring, this is the culmination, and it's only the next phase, because don't forget, making queen cells is one thing, but getting them mated, getting good queens flying and back in the colony is a completely different ball game. But it's all part of it, okay? That's only all one part of it. So I'll quickly take these out again and add the next 14 cells to those. They're all the same series, so I know they're all going to hatch on the same day, theoretically. There might be one or two that are 12 hours apart, because when you graft, some larvae are slightly different. I don't stage my queen cells so that they all hatch at the same time. I don't have a box that separates the queen, so she lays exactly in a frame and only one frame. I tend to pick a frame out of a hive that is just full of larvae and eggs, and I find the best larvae for that age. So for me it works. Other people prefer not to do that. Let's take the other one out ready. That's now done, complete. So let's put, I've got one here already made up. Here we are. It's all a bit confusing, like everybody. This is a utility room. It's got my washing machine in, it's got my boiler. Everything in here is a real house. This is the way it is. Trying to raise queens in real terms, not in a business where I have a separate room for this at the moment. I do have a workshop that I use, and probably long term I'll move my queen rearing to there. So I'll pop these back in for the moment, and they'll stay a little bit warmer while I get the next one ready. These are smaller cells, but it doesn't matter. Every cell is a potentially good queen if she's well fed and well mated in mating. That's the next phase. This is the bit that takes the time, and you've got to be careful. But everyone is a good cell. And I know there's people out there who will be delighted just to have these cells that are a bit smaller. But believe you me, when you're making cells, it's not difficult. Once you concentrate on getting everything right, and you get a good strong starter, and some good strong boxes that will finish your cells, the sky's the limit. There's no end to what you're going to get. These cells wouldn't have been any better with this particular finisher. It's generally the size they finish them at. So when you're thinking, oh, they could have been better, perhaps they could. But at the same time, it all depends on your finishers. So let's get these in and then we're done. Then that's about 14 times 3, all in. There's a few less because there's 1 or 2 that were blanks. There's a couple of small ones there, but I can see a larvae in there and that's absolutely fine. There could be just as good a cell as that. You know, when they make emergency cells, they flood a cell in the brood with raw jelly, and it looks a tiny little stumpy cell, but sometimes it produces a beautiful queen. Obviously, the best ones are swarm cells, and that's what you want. So we want to mimic the swarming, and that's why we make them so strong. But these are fine. These do the job just as good. So that's great. In they go. That's the last one finished. So I'll put this down the bottom as well. And I'm talking to you about my incubator a little bit, because I get lots of questions about this. So this is my incubator. It's actually an egg incubator and it's made in Spain. I bought it through a dealer in the UK who buys them for chicken eggs, and this is, as I said, a chicken egg incubator. You can see at the back there was a mechanism there. You can see it there that actually turns the eggs. And inside it comes with 2 trays, so you just take that out, discard the trays, and then you can use it for rearing queens. Now, when it's set for eggs, the temperature is a little bit less, and you have to undo this box with the electricity turned off. I better say that for health and safety. And inside there's a variable resistor that you can adjust with a screwdriver, and you just tweak up the temperature a little bit, which is perfectly safe and perfectly normal to do. It's just the boundary settings, the highs and lows, it would never reach the temperature we want. So you just tweak it up to 34.5, and that's what I set mine at. 34, 35 is ideal. On my old incubator here, I've got the same one I used to run at 93, 94F, which is the same temperature. So I've got this one as a backup, which is fine, made by the same company. And I just bought this bigger one because I needed the capacity. Now, humidity. I don't have a humidifier in here, but what I do have underneath my cells is I have a tray of water. A simple tray, and believe you me, it'll dry out in about 4 days. So you have to be constantly checking it and checking there's moisture in there. And when my queen cells are hatched, that's when I find they really benefit from having slightly humidified air. So there's the temperature gauge. You can see that against the other one. There you go. That's 92 there. So it's very, very similar in temperature. Obviously I've just dropped, I had the temperature just dropped because I've opened the door. So you can see the heat has gone on, and that's how basically it works. One thing I will say is, when I've got live virgins in here, I tend to put them on the bottom tray because inside there's a fan. And when you put your hand in there, there's quite a draft you feel on that top shelf, and I'm sure it can't be very good for the queens to sit, if they're in virgins, to sit in a draft. So I put them in the bottom tray, and then the air is diffused through the top tray, or I put a sheet of card inside just to diffuse that moving air. So I hope you enjoy that. It's always fun harvesting queen cells. It's the kind of culmination of a lot of work, and then it makes you think about getting to the next stage. So the next stage is they're going into nukes, and they're going to go into mini plus for mating. And maybe I'll be able to show you a little video on how I do that, but it's pretty basically straightforward. I do use a cell protector on these because a lot of my bees can be nasty and aggressive towards young queens. So the cell protector that I put on this afterwards, when I introduce that cell to a nuke or a mini plus, just means the queen doesn't come out till she's born. She doesn't get torn down if the bees are aggressive, and it makes everything a bit sweeter. But anyway, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe. If you want to hit the subscribe button right at the top of your screen, I'd be grateful for that. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.